All right, so next up we have, I believe, one of the last panels, if not the last panel of this event. So I'm a little bit emotional, actually. And this is going to be on the UI and UX of DeFi, bridging the gap between complexity and usability. And this is actually a really nice way, I believe, to actually close off the panels. Is this topic has come up quite a lot over the last couple of days, because ultimately we can have the best privacy technology in the world, we can have the best blockchain technology in the world, but if people can't use it, then it's kind of all for nothing. So I'm very, very excited to welcome the panelists to the stage. We'll start with Nuno from the ETH Foundation. It's a pleasure, as well as Ismael from Argent. Who uses Argent wallet here? Okay, we have a few. And we have Jan from BlockWallet. Please give a round of applause. Woo! All right, thank you all for coming today. Any hangovers or all clear?
All good, all good.
All good? Cool, all right. If it doesn't work, there's this one as well. Do all the microphones work?
Does this work?
Yeah, there you go, perfect. All right, so to start off as usual, please introduce yourself and your interest in the UI UX in DeFi.
All right, I guess I can start. I'm Ismael, product manager at Argent, mainly focused on the Starknet side of things at Argent. And I guess my interest in UI UX, I guess, comes from the first moments that I started using crypto. I was fascinated by the technology. And I always thought, okay, this is going to be something that everyone uses. But when it comes to the UX, I couldn't imagine my parents actually using MetaMask to do any simple transactions. So I started digging into some solutions, found smart contract wallets, and now I'm at Argent.
Cool. When Starknet airdrop?
Soon, TM.
My name is Jan. I'm product manager at BlockWallet. And product management is a little bit more than UX, but I think if road mapping and syncing the teams and aligning the vision is the main course, I think UX and UI is like the sweet at the end.
Hey, I'm Nuno. I work for Ethereum Foundation. I'm lead designer for Ethereum.org. So it's a website that we all know and adore to help onboard people to Ethereum. So it's an open source project, community driven. So we invite everyone to join the community and help out all of the folks and learn in the process. And actually, I wanted just to bring it out that it's really good to have some design panel on stage, because we hear every other talk talking about bad UX, bad things every now and then. And I feel as a designer that we don't have the stage to speak about that. Like, why it's bad, how can we improve? And it's always a conversation. Every other conference, it's always about, and how many conferences do have design in the main stage? I think we still need to step up the conversation about design once and for all.
Yeah. Ultimately, you all do make the stuff that we look at all day, every day. So, cool. So to kick it off, I'd like to ask each of you to share one of the biggest challenges in usability that you've faced, and yeah, how was that solved? It can take the form of a story or just a simple statement.
I guess I can start. So I feel like, well, one of the main issues in the blockchain space, and particularly for wallets, is the problem of key management and how we design systems around key management and how we present that challenge to users. And the way we've solved it at Argent is by not letting the user even know that they have a seed phrase. So yeah, by making UI that doesn't surface that seed phrase and that doesn't surface that complexity and all the issue of having to store a seed phrase with whatever methods we try to tell them to do. Yeah, that's how we're solving it. It's we have different ways of doing that, but yeah, there are ways to do that, and yeah, we've done it.
Cool.
I'm going to talk about seed phrases also. But I'm going to say that I think we need to be proud of the whole community that has been able to step together, at least in one thing, and that is how not your keys, not your crypto, right? And what we've been able to do in the past few years is make this really a phrase that everyone knows, and we've been able to unify this experience of saving and then storing keys, and everyone is doing this part in educating the users, right? So we rarely have a common standing ground with a lot of other ecosystems, but this thing is the one that we have in common, and we're working well together to educate the users on this. So that would be mine.
On my side, I would let's try to be a little bit different. It's more about learning as well, but more about the jargon and to understand it. Like before usability, before you're building a product, you need to understand what's the need for it, the real need, the real use case. I think we need to, it's a design problem to begin with, because you need to understand how to communicate, how to understand the needs of the real world person and try to tailor the needs to them. And that's a design problem by itself. And it's all about jargon, it's all about how to understand the needs, how to understand the flow, and that before even thinking about some of the usability issues in detail.
That's fair. I think one story about Argent was that at the very beginning, you guys would sponsor everyone's Ethereum gas fees, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is a usability problem. But yeah, I think at some point that just got too expensive, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
At some point, the gas fees were just prohibitive, and we realized that we weren't going to make it alive if we kept doing that. So we stopped, and we had to compromise a bit. But now, with layer 2s that we're focusing on quite heavily, that's a promise that we might bring back at some point.
Okay. Cool.
If I may, a little anecdote. I think Argent was responsible for a lot of other wallets thinking about this approach. And with externally owned accounts, this is tough, right? So we did spend a lot of time thinking about how we could potentially do that at BlockWallet. But like Ismael said, it's prohibitively expensive. And also in our case, it's prohibitively expensive to design and develop.
That's fair. I think it's always like with a traditional card payment, the fee is taken out of the merchant. So it becomes very easy for everyone to understand. But when you make that jump, you're like, what the fuck is a gas fee? Which brings me into my next big question, which is, from your guys' point of view, is the ecosystem ready to onboard the next billion users? If not, what do we need most?
Are we ever going to be ready? You're never ready. And it will happen right before your eyes. AI, it's a good example. What happened in AI, no one anticipated to be so fast. And probably what we need is some sort of event like that happening. Like some mass adoption of some vertical NFTs, right? At some point looked like it would be the way of going, more adoption. But I think we will never be ready. It will always be buggy. It will always be, that's software, that's technology being what it is.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with that. It'll just happen, but it will not. It will happen in a way where someone will build something that will be the catalyst for this, like AI that you mentioned. And yeah, NFTs are a promising thing in the sense of. I like to say that right now we have high value and low utility NFTs when we should have the other way around. But this is not the topic of this panel, so I guess there will have to be this event that will trigger the next wave of users to come in and really adopt.
But I do think that the technology is also not quite there yet. There's no network that can handle 1 billion users right now, and our promise is on or our hopes are on layer 2s right now, especially ZK rollups. But if that big use case comes tomorrow, there's no technology that right now.
It never happened. Like, remember the beginning of Twitter, the fail whale image?
Yeah,
I was around when it happened. It was growing so big, and the infrastructure was not ready. And you need to fix that on the way. It will be a lot of mistakes along the way, and a lot of things can be risky. And in this ecosystem, risk, it's a real thing. So, okay, you need to be careful of that. But either way, you can prepare yourself, but you never know. There's always something that will happen. And that's the beauty of it. That's good. That's why we're here.
Yeah, I agree with that. So we had a surge in users late last year, for obvious reasons. And yeah, the issue was that you can't scale that fast. You can't scale as fast as users come in your infrastructure.
What was the reason?
Oh, FTX.
Yeah, okay.
That brings me to something that you mentioned earlier, that we've been doing quite a good job of educating people about not your keys, not your crypto, but the fact that, well, all the scandals that have happened in the past year with the FTX scandal included, that tells me that we're not doing quite as good a job as you mentioned, because if everyone is using FTX or many of us probably use Coinbase or Kraken or Binance, these centralized solutions, that means that not everyone is completely aware of the fact that they don't have complete self-custody over their assets. So I do feel like we have a long way to go, and a lot of the job has to be done on the wallet side of things, and making it way easier for users to be comfortable with dealing with these technologies, because otherwise they're just going to go back to these centralized solutions.
A quick note on this is, I think it was the last ETH Denver, where everyone came back being like, wallet, as like, this is it. And you also just said it again. My question is like, okay, like, what is the killer feature in a wallet that like everyone's kind of dreaming of? Or is it kind of, we're expecting this moment where someone's going to release something that is such an intricate puzzle of it that it is then going to just open up the floodgates?
I do have an idea of what the ideal wallet is, and it should be completely minimal, in my opinion. Just a wallet's function is to do key management as well as possible, and letting the user know what they're signing. Basically, those two things is the basic stuff that a wallet should do, and all the functionality around it, you can build it on top of that wallet, but all of that could be dashboards on top of other platforms. But yeah, I do believe that the key feature of a wallet is just key management and stuff like social recovery or all that stuff that we support at Argent, or fraud monitor system, which is kind of this part of the what I mentioned about surfacing to the user in an easy way what they're actually signing. But those are the two things, and anything really on top of that is something that the wallet can do if they want, but not necessarily.
I sort of agree on that. Sort of.
I don't agree at all.
You don't have to be nice.
So my take on this, I'm going to expand. I'm not going to fight this opinion that you have. It's I agree that the wallet should be as secure as possible, and its main purpose is key management. And we've also been playing around a lot with privacy features. And what we've sort of realized is that privacy features are very hard to make sexy, right? It's very hard to use that as your key differentiator. You need something more, right? You need something that is not, how do you call it? So our marketing guy told me we can't scare the users, right? Because if you want to market privacy, you're going to have to say, hey, there's so many monsters out there. You need our wallet, right? So you have to find other narratives that you can pursue. And it's tough because, like Ismael said, the key point of the wallet is to hold your keys, right? But we have to build something more exciting on top of it, I think. So, yeah.
That's why you should not call it wallet. Like we've discussed about the word wallet, and you have like two different fields. The ones that believe that the wallet should be called wallet, and the ones that believe that it should have something else. Like even the sign in with something, like connect your wallet, sign in. Like we are trying to bridge a little bit what a wallet is to try to call it sign in. Like it's your identity. So that's a transformation. That's a trend that is happening right now with WorldCoin conversation and all identity providers around that. So I think it's one of the trends around wallets. If you are speaking about wallets, it's how to overcome the just hold your keys kind of thing and be your identity as well. So the narrative is changing a little bit. I'm not sure if it's a good way or a bad way, but it's changing.
That's, yeah. I think this is a personal opinion, but I think I really do believe, for better or for worse, and I don't know if it's accurate, but I think the next billion users will not know that they're using DeFi, but they will be using DeFi in that sense. And I don't know if it's possible, but I think that's kind of the goal of kind of what should be achieved.
I think it totally is, and actually I can chill a bit. The one project that we're working on at Argent is called Web Wallet, and it's pretty much an SDK that allows any dApp to just offer an email and password flow, where users just create an account thanks to account abstraction and smart contract wallets on chain that includes that fraud monitor system, all that. Key management and all the recovery mechanisms, but the users don't really need to know that they're interacting with the blockchain. So we just offer this as an SDK. The dApp integrates it, and upon connecting or signing in, they will just see an email input. They enter that, authenticate with their email and maybe even second factors, and then they have a wallet. They don't know about it. They're interacting with that dApp, and they don't really need to know that there's blockchain behind it, because this product is just focused on the two things that I mentioned earlier, just key management and surfacing to the user what they're actually signing.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, I do disagree a little bit with not knowing what you're doing. You need to understand the risks. And if we abstract everything from the user, they will think that it's safe, it's Web 2-ish, or it's a bank, or it's some sort of platform, that it's insurance somehow. You need to understand the risks, and you need to tell them the risks. And that, again, that's a design problem. How can you tell the risks to the user? They need to learn the risks. Like, you can have a lot of metaphors around it. Like, you learn to drive. It's risky to drive. You don't need to understand how the engine works, like inside of the engine, but you need to understand what's a steering wheel, what's a brake, how to brake a car. And so if you don't, you will crash and you can die or you can kill other people. So there's stuff that you need to understand. And we are trying to abstract so many things from the user and say, oh, this is so easy to use, just use it. And it's like, if it is so easy, it's risky.
But I do think that the level of knowledge that we require from users should be yes, proportional to the amount of risk that they have. If I just want to play a game and I want to just spend like $2 on it, why do I need to understand how the key management is happening, that the fact that I have some key recovery mechanism and all that stuff? I just want to play my game with my account that I created, and I have $5 in it. If I start putting more and more funds in that account, maybe we can have user flows that start explaining that complexity to the user as they get in their journey through.
But then again, you never know if the user has $1 or has 1,000 or whatever. No, so you have to prepare the system. And when you're on board the user, they need to understand that you can use that wallet to create value, or there's some value in it that is for you. Like, the keys to your house, use it on your pockets, and you don't lose it. And you don't lose it. If you lose the key of your house, what do? You change the lock.
Yeah,
Right?
but if I just...
So it's a secure thing. It's like you need to understand the risks of having your keys with you.
Yeah, but if I just got a house and there's nothing in there, there's
You
nothing
know what?
there.
You don't want a stranger to go in your house anyway.
Yeah, no, but well, I think that analogy, yeah, it's not completely accurate. I think because as I mentioned earlier, if I just want to play my game, I don't need to know all that complexity behind it, and we can, as long as soon as the user adds more funds to it, or they want to do an action that requires or has more risk, we can design the wallets to start.
I do understand that, but I
because otherwise, if we introduce all that complexity from the get-go, we're not gonna reach.
I'm not saying that you need to introduce complexity. I'm saying that you need to perceive the risks need to be perceived by the user. You can do it in a less risky, a less complex way. Like complexity, it's a word that brings some like inherent complexity. It's like it's difficult,
Anxiety.
it's hard. It's like probably it's not the best way. Does not need to be complex. It does require some work, but that's not a bad thing to begin with. There's stuff that you can do, like work yourself out. If there's an incentive to do it, financial or to play a game or to own something, if you understand, like you will own something and that something can be valuable. If it is a playing card, it's again on a game or some clothing or something like that. And I'm not thinking about token incentive, like financial, real incentive. I'm just, like you said, in a game. Like I can just get that to another game and it's mine. And that perception of being mine and not being within the game, it's something that you need to teach the users. They are not used to have that at all. Like if you play some game, it's within the game. That's the owners. It's a centralized thing. The centralization, it's different concepts to understand.
Last comment, and then we move on.
Okay, yeah, I do agree with that, but I do feel also that with current games, even though they're centralized, users do get the feeling that that asset is theirs. So maybe
Wrong feeling. They don't own anything.
Well,
One
one story I heard last night, Simon from The Graph, he was on a panel earlier and he was telling me that his girlfriend bought an ENS domain, $10, yeah, you don't give a shit. Then suddenly she got the airdrop and suddenly everything became super serious. So that's when she got red-pilled and then really started to understand all of the different considerations in the space. So yeah, monetary incentives, I guess, yeah, it sucks, but it does play a part. Also, fun fact, last night, someone was like, you don't talk about the price. And everyone else was like, yeah. So another question building off of this is, what metrics should we use to measure success on Web3 products from a design perspective? Does that make sense?
It does.
And I'll let you think about it, but I want to remind the audience, please ask questions on Slido. We have a design panel that's very special. We discovered that at the beginning, so please do ask questions. Yeah, whoever wants to ask the metrics question.
Yeah, I think that's a really tough one because it's hard to measure how successful your UI was when the motivation underneath it is so strong. Because in crypto, we just talked about this earlier, there's a strong motivation to earn money, right? You don't get into crypto just like that. You get it because you want to buy a token, you want to, I don't know, participate in these, like all these DeFi protocols. So it's very hard to figure out how successful your UX has been in ensuring that the user gets what they want because they really want it and they'll find a way, right? So I think metrics like TVL, active accounts, all that isn't very relevant to UX right now. I don't know the answer to this question.
Yeah, I do agree, and I think we need to evolve those metrics. Again, we need to rethink. If we are rethinking a lot of different things, like rethinking the way we as a society work within this technology, we need to rethink the success metrics as well. Probably you cannot measure by the number of users by total, but how secure is your product, how private it is your product. that's a metric of success. If it is a private, it's a successful thing. And those metrics need to be in account to measure how good your product, how good your flow is, how private it is, how secure it is, and not just how easy it is. How can you onboard 1 million in one click? Is it a good thing to onboard 1 million folks in one click? Or probably 3 clicks might help a little bit to ensure that it's private. You ask 3 or more questions, you ensure that the flow can be better. We need to rethink the metrics to begin with. If we are rethinking a lot of different things, the metrics is one of them. I know it's a business. I know you need to have, your startup needs to grow, needs to more business, but probably you need more active users and the ones that interact. How many transactions did the user do? And was meaningful, those transactions? They create value, how impactful they were. It's more important than have 1 million like ridiculous transactions just for them, something that is not useful at all. And those metrics need to change. It's a narrative, again, that needs to be changed about how to measure success in the product.
And double-clicking on that, like when you talk about metrics like privacy, security, and all of those things, who comes up with those metrics? How are those reported by the ecosystem? If you have a short answer on that.
It can be battle tested by different users. You can have third parties to ensure that. So there's a different, being open source, it's one of the best ways. Okay, if it is, we now trust more an open source project than a closed source project, just because it can be verified. Yeah. That's one metric of success. Just do your product, open source the code, and let people verify that. That's one metric of success within our ecosystem. Like there's a lot of small things that we can use to measure how good is the product based on that. And if it is secure, if it is, I don't know if you can create a scale of how secure it is. I have no idea. But probably you can try to work a little bit as a whole, as an industry to create those metrics and be valuable. Not just, okay, I have 1,000 new users a day. Oh, cool for you. Are they good users? Why did you onboard your product? Yeah. Do they interact with your product, or is it just are hopping in to make a quick buck on some airdrop or something? Like that's not the way of going in the future.
Fair enough. Ismael, do you have any thoughts on the metrics of success?
No, I do agree that it's a pretty difficult thing to nail down, especially because there's so much activity happening on the blockchain just because the incentive of an airdrop is so high that it's just difficult.
Stocknet airdrop?
I have a short remark. I recently witnessed, this is an anecdote of, I recently witnessed a person who is not in crypto trying to buy Pepe.
Ooh.
Yeah, so just the moral of the story is that user testing is amazing, and it can give you so many insights, and it will also expose all the dark stuff of why it's hard to gain traction and why, like, overall, the UX right now of crypto in general is not on par yet, right?
Was it successful? Did he bought?
Yes, but after a lot of interventions by me, including sending over some money for gas.
I would love to see this as a marketing video, but from wallets, if you can compare, or like take someone from an older generation and get them to buy Pepe with different wallets and see what the experience is and make it into a TikTok. I think that would be hilarious. Okay, last question for me before we go to the audience questions. I would like you all to name just one emerging UI UX trend in Web3 that you think builders should be aware of.
I think I've spoke a little bit about that because I was thinking about the sign-in and the way you interact with the sign-in and like connect or sign in, or the way you interact with the wallets within the product, with DeFi or whatever thing you're doing, might be a trend for the next year. The WorldCoin thing, it's booming a little bit. We are talking about that, good or bad. I'm not judging, but that might be one of the interesting things to see on how easy it will be to interact and how can we have that flow going on.
Cool.
I think a trend that has been going on for a while and that I think Argent is actually pursuing most actively is trying to make the whole experience more akin to Web 2, right? I think that's a huge trend right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention the same thing. Just try to bring try to meet users where they're at. Pretty much, if we want to bring Web 2 users to our space, the best way to do it is by designing flows that are something that they're already used to, and these email flows, even though they might not be the perfect solution, it's something that will bring mass adoption to this ecosystem. And on top of that, we can design way more secure systems. But yeah, that would be it.
Cool. All right, to the audience questions. The first one is, we'll do this quite quick fire. What has been your favorite UX that you've interacted with recently, crypto or not, and why? Your favorite UX?
Ooh. Yeah, there's this thing happening on the Starknet ecosystem. It's a standard. Oh my god. Sorry. Yeah, there's this standard called WebAuthn for authenticating with a backend, and some people in the Starknet ecosystem are using it to sign transactions. WebAuthn basically allows you to sign transactions with biometrics. So basically, you could just have your wallet. There's this super cool project on Starknet called Cartridge, which is a smart contract wallet that has some custom verification logic for verifying transactions signed with WebAuthn. So basically what you have is your account, and when you want to perform a transaction on a dApp, you just see it right there on the website. It asks you for your fingerprint or Face ID if you're on mobile. You sign it, and it's done, and it's completely verified on chain. There's no backend involved at all, and it just works. It seems like magic, really.
Nice.
Right now, it's a bit too expensive, but hopefully, when Starknet scales, that's going to be the UX to beat.
Is cartridge also a Definity term? Maybe I'm thinking too much. No, I think something like anyway.
No. Well, I'm not familiar with that.
All right, I can go next. I think I won't point out any particular UX on Web3 right now, but I want to point out that my favorite experience on the internet is the internet itself, and I use Brave because it lets me skip all the ads and as many cookie notifications that it can. And I think the web experience right now is totally broken for everyone. And I think I want to be optimistic about how Web3, and not just crypto, could help us get back that authentic, good, ad-free, non-intrusive experience. So, yeah.
Have you heard of Arc or used Arc? Yeah.
I love it. I've been using it since almost for a year already.
Nice.
And I've gotten half of the Argent company to use it.
Nice. I think we can be providers of Arc invites, so.
Yes, it's the best browser ever.
Yeah, I just you can fix things that are broken by nature. So recently I traveled to Japan, and the way you go about entering Japan with the web app that they provide as a government, it's such a good experience to go. Just to prove the point that all the systems can be broken at some point, and you can improve them, even though that can be a big deal. So we still we are having bad experiences in our ecosystem, and I think we can improve them. I'm just sending out a message that even the ones that we think that it's broken by default, like flying, like going abroad and going all this security checks, there are some interesting use cases. So that might be another use cases going on in the future for our ecosystem as well that might improve. So there's hope. That's my message.
Next question is, maybe one of you can answer this if you have a good answer, is can you give examples of Web3 products that have actually got traction because of their good UX? And specifically, what can we learn from them? It's a tough nut.
Traction in the sense that it's usable?
Traction isn't. It was so amazingly good that lots of people went and used it. And I don't want to say CoinMarketCap.
We all rely a little bit on the Reddit example as a good way of interacting, giving out collectibles without knowing that they are collectibles. The risk again of not knowing, it's a thing for me. But it still is probably one of the best use cases of mass adoption of something.
Not the Gen 3 launch, though. That was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. But I think it still is probably one of the mass adoption from a Web 2 perspective that could onboard a lot of folks to Web 3.
Yeah.
The amount of wallets that was created and the buzz around it was a good thing.
Who here has a Reddit collectible? Collect avatar? Yes. All right. Okay, and I guess the last question that I'm going to take from here is, what would you say are the things that designers and builders can do to understand how to build products that genuinely solve problems? I guess this is also like, what's your tip to the people that are here? Come on, you're the PMs.
I'm going to go back to incentives, right? Right now, there's a strong incentive to earn money in crypto, which is making the adoption job for a lot of projects a little bit easier. But what I think we need to work on is incentives of other kinds. So if we just remember like huge Web 2 projects like Gmail, Facebook, right? They had a different kind of incentive. There was a social component. So I think we need to work on different use cases and then like work on it in a way that is understandable and like it will capture users and it like will be able to onboard them in a way that is safe and secure for them and offer them this exceptional experience.
Fair enough.
I'd say also, I feel like there's a lot of stuff happening lately that is too constrained by the current limitation of the systems that we have in terms of transaction throughput and gas fees and stuff. I do think that focusing on the ideals that we build all of this upon is a focus that I'd like more people to have when they start building their systems. Just focusing on when this works, what are we going to be able to build with that? Because there's many teams already working on that, and I feel like a lot of stuff that gets built today is just about DeFi and earning yield and all that stuff, but there's way more stuff beyond that is going to be enabled in the next probably 6 to 10 months.
We need probably more critical thinking on top of what we do. Like stop for a little bit and think, how can we build better products to someone that doesn't understand technology? Because I think as everyone in this conference and around the ecosystem has a values aligned, the ethos, we all know what we can do with it in the very end, on the long tail. But to get there, it's a blurry way. And we need to rethink how to build that path. Not bootstrap only on things that we know, because we are changing the world, and design plays a huge role of it. Like thinking different, like testing out new things and failing. Okay, we will fail every now and then, but we need to test out new flows, new way of thinking, new products. Even DeFi, it's a new interaction with value. Like it's a new way of interaction. It does not need to be in the same interfaces that has a lot of charts and swap that and numbers all over the place. Like we need to rethink the whole thing to begin with. And I think that's the secret sauce to go to the next level.
Well, that starts now.
Sure.
Thank you ever so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.